one thing that we proposed. We looked at this today.
Yeah.
And, okay, I said something we've talked about on the show before. Let's propose 4 region winners and 4 at-large teams.
So we did that.
We did that.
We took the region winners.
Which would be Greenbrier East, Wheeling Park, Bridgeport, and South Charleston. They are the 4 region winners from last night. Okay? You take the 4 at-large teams, which what we did was we looked at the Metro News Power Index. The 4 teams that were left would be the at-large teams. Those 4 teams, University, Spring Valley, Huntington, and Hedgesville.
Mm-hmm.
So your matchups would be number 1, Greenbrier East against Hedgesville, Wheeling Park against Huntington, Bridgeport against Spring Valley, South Charleston against University. Not bad, I don't think. You got teams that haven't played each other. You've got the top teams according to the Metro News Power Index there. I think that's a better state tournament.
You've got your region winners.
Exactly. You've got your region winners, plus you've got 4 at-large teams that have had good seasons. You reward them from having a good season.
And so if you lose your section on that game that we had Friday night, that's it. You don't play anymore, right?
Unless, Hedgesville got beat by Martinsburg in the section. But Hedgesville had enough in the regular season, according to this, that they could deserve it. So if you
lose that game, you don't play anymore. You don't have to go over to Bridgeport to play them.
You still have a chance to get in as an at-large
trip. Yeah.
Which means it puts a little bit on what the regular season is supposed to be about instead of exhibition games.
Exactly, which we've heard coaches say, well, these are all exhibition games. It shouldn't be like that. What are we playing for?
Exactly.
Why don't I just show up at the end of the season?
Yeah. And I kind of like what we figured up here too. And I mean, if you're listening, you've got any comments on this, you can call us up 304-263-4321. You can also tweet us at In the Zone WEPM if you've got any objections, agree, or whatever, and let us know.
Idea, and I realize this is high school basketball, but we cover a lot of the high schools around here, and that's why we put so much thought into this.
Well, we put thought into it too because I think it's not fair the way it is done now.
Yeah.
It's not fair to let the coaches decide this. So another thing that we looked at was, okay, let's do away with the sectional regionals. Just do away with them.
Mm-hmm.
Go to a point system like you have in football and have the top 16 make it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we looked at that as well. And once again, we don't have a point system, so we go by the power index. Because we don't have a point system. You can come up with a point system like you do with football or, use the power index, which I think would be great. And you look at the top 16 teams. In AAA, they would go like this. Greenbrier East would be number 1, Wheeling Park number 2, Bridgeport number 3, University number 4, Morgantown number 5, South Charleston 6th, Spring Valley 7th, Huntington 8th, Hedgesville 9th, Fairmont Senior 10th, Parkersburg South 11th, Princeton 12th, George Washington 13th, Beckley 14th, Martinsburg 15th, Hampshire 16th. Those would be your top 16 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
You would divide it up. 1 plays 16, 2 15, and so on down the line.
Right.
First round games played at home sites. So you had Greenbrier East to get Hampshire.
Yeah, it would play at the top seed.
Yeah. Yeah, the highest seeds will get the host game.
Will host the game. Yeah.
And then the winner of that moves on to the state tournament. And the idea here is, too, you cut out a game that the teams could play another regular season game, which you should make that against your region opponent. Or, if you're doing away with the regions, close to your area.
Mm-hmm.
Then what you do is you play it on a Saturday night before the state tournament. The reason why, you don't have to hear about, you got to take the kids out of class and all that. Okay, fine. Right. Play it on a Saturday night. Play all the games on a Saturday. Then you come back and you play your state tournament on Wednesday and start it up. Okay, so you can have a full week.
Then you'd have your 8 teams.
You have your 8 teams. So your first round matchups, Greenbrier East against Hampshire, Wheeling Park against Martinsburg, Bridgeport against Beckley, University against George Washington, Morgantown against Princeton, South Charleston against Parkersburg South, Spring Valley against Fairmont Senior, Huntington against Hedgesville.
And if you take, just based off of this year, if you take the top 8 seeds, and let's say there's no upsets, the top 8 seeds win, then you look at the high school girls state tournament as it stands right now, the difference would be, instead of Robert Seabird playing Bridgeport in that first round, it would be Spring Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no sectional matchup there in the first round of the state tournament. And then instead of South Charleston playing George Washington, which is in their region, it would be University. playing South Charleston in the first round.
We saw University's
very good. They took Greenbrier East into overtime. They're a very good ball club. And it would just make for better basketball, honestly.
It would. I mean, and to me, don't you? If I'm a coach, I hope all coaches are like this. I want to play the best.
Yeah.
To me, why do you want to go and play a team that play the best? To be the best, you got to beat the best.
Right.
So, I just think there's a better way to do it. I mean, I still think it's going to be good basketball next week, but I think it could be better. There could be better teams there. I don't know. I mean, the more I look at that top 16, I kind of like that better.
It's just frustrating to me that even if you lose your section, you still go on to play another team in your region.
Well,
I just think that game's silly.
Well, yeah, do away with it.
Yeah.
Get the 16, get a point system, get the 16, make the regular season worse something like it is in football.
Well, that's exactly right. Just like in football. I mean, you've got to win ball games.
Yeah.
If football, if you don't win above 500, you may not make it to playoff. It's not open for everybody. You need to perform during the season.
Make the regular. And I understand you play more games in basketball, so I don't know if the travel issue would be some of it. But, I mean, there's ways, and I know the economy and all this other stuff that we always hear about.
That's why you have Christmas tournaments and the Big Atlantic Classic, because then you just make one trip and then you play a couple teams down there that you don't see.
Martinsburg did that this year in girls basketball. They went before Christmas. They went to Robert C. Byrd and played. Then they played Bridgeport the next day. I think there's ways that you can do it. I don't like the system right now. I'd like the system better now than it was before when you didn't seed it. Because I know back in the 90s, being from the southern part of the state, Beckley and Oak Hill were two of the best AAA teams year in and year out. And they always had to play each other in the sectional tournament, and only one got to move on. There were some years that the state championship game was decided in the sectional tournament between Oak Hill and Beckley. I didn't like it then. This is better than it was, but then again, now I think you need to look and say, how can we make it better?
Yeah.
There's other ways to make it better.
Yeah, and the thing that is so hard is with the West Virginia SSAC, it's so hard to get these changes to be made because everybody in the state has to agree on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the SSAC because they just enforce the rules. It's the principals.
Right.
The principals and the athletic directors have to get together, and really the principals have to make this rule. And I mean,
somebody has to initiate it, and then you've got to get everybody else involved. And I mean, it's tough.
Well, and I want people to know too, I'm not saying this just because the Eastern Panhandle teams got beat last night.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, I would feel this way.
Best basketball possible. I mean, it's silly that you've got 6 teams that are either in the same region or the same section that are playing each other in the first round of the state tournament. And it's going to be the same way on the boys' side. I mean, they do it the same way.
Let's look at that first round. Coming up on Wednesday night, March the 7th, 7:05 at night. It's Bridgeport against Robert C. Byrd. Bridgeport beat Robert C. Byrd by 17 points a week ago. 17. South Charleston and George Washington. That might be a little bit better game because it's more of a rivalry game, I think. And I think GW is pretty good, but I still think South Charleston wins by 10-plus points. Greenbrier, East, and Huntington, they played in a couple of good games this year. Wheeling Park and Morgantown played in some good ones as well. But I still think that you would have better matchups if you had, let's say you have the Bridgeport against University. I think that would be a better game than Bridgeport Robert C. Byrd.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like last night's game, the regional game. I was excited about that game. I hadn't seen Robert C. Byrd play. I didn't know what they had. We were like, Martinsburg's a different team than when they played them in December. Robert C. Byrd upset them. Yeah,
Robert C. Byrd kept, and I guess you go back and say, okay, well, you let, everybody has a chance to get to Charleston. I understand the Hoosier story and all that other stuff, but, come on. Okay, that's fine. You can still have the Hoosier story. They need to win the regional.
Yeah.
They need to win it if you want to go to the 4 regionals. There's other ways you can do it, and I think it's better than what it is now.
Yeah.